Hello, this is Guro Ferd, Terado, the Bikini Tersha Kali system. And for this series of videos, I'm going to go over some double knife work, actually. But I'm going to first start with the single knife basic mechanics, and then we'll do the double knife, and then we'll do kind of like something more dynamic. For those of you who are familiar with Pikiti Tersha Kali knife work, we have a very simple abecedario, right? It's just a three count. Um, there's uh, there's a three count for the thrusting lines, and then there's a three count for slashes. Well, the slashes are more like four counts, um, and then you have variations depending on the type of energy behind those type of strikes. So the single knife thrusting abecedario. Number one thrust is a slash. Number two thrust, slash. Number three thrust. And then a slash to come back to your starting point. Now, right now I'm not using the knife. I mean, I have the knife in my hand, but you know, um, let's say you don't have a knife yet and you're just getting used to the motions, do it with your empty hand, right? Number one, here's two, here's three, right? Almost Tai Chi like. Number one thrust, number two, number three, okay? If you want to simulate a knife, then stick your thumb up like this, okay? Like you're doing a thumbs up, right? And pretend that's the knife point. So with your thumb, thrust, one, slash, thrust number two, slash, thrust number three, and then slash, okay? Now the index points are important, okay, because this will help you understand the full range of motion and exactly where and how close you can get your hand to your body without cutting yourself. Okay, number one thrust, number two thrust, number three, and then back. Okay, number one, number two, number three, and then back. Okay, when we perform these mechanics, okay, we tend to be bladed when we do this. Okay, I mean, you can do it from a squared straight position as well. That's fine. If this helps, you'll do it this way: one, two, and then three. And then once you kind of gotten a little bit more, familiar and comfortable, you're going to blade yourself 45 degrees. Okay, and you will start adding your hip twists along with that, right? It's the same hip twist that you will utilize when you're doing basic strikes with sticks. So once again, one, two, three, and then slash, okay? I obviously have a real knife here, so don't do what I do. Get a trainer, please, and use that. If you decide to, you know, use a live blade knife to perform these exercises and you cut yourself, that's your fault. Back to our drill, right? Number one thrust, number two, number three, and then slash. Okay? So once again, you want to kind of isolate different aspects of the exercise. So you see me throwing my left hand out. This is the third hand tap. A lot of the styles like to refer to this as the live hand. We don't call it that. We call it a third hand principle. Okay. Um, so you will notice that I will tap prior to the thrust. I will tap, then thrust, slash, tap, then thrust, slash, tap, and then thrust, slash to go back and see how my space is open. I'm going to fill that space with the third hand tap again. This is something common in Pikita Tertia Kali where, every time we open up our workspace, like the weapon is not there to protect us, the other hand fills that space. Okay, so there's like movement here, and then anytime we're open because we're vulnerable here, right? vulnerable. So the left hand comes up, or it's executed to deliver a thrust, a strike, right, before we can put the knife back into play. So often when we are doing our basic striking drills, right, tap, 1, 2, tap, 3, tap, right, and they just kind of get into a habit of, you know, not letting your hand kind of just dangle here or whatever, like you don't know what to do with it, right? Solar plexus, shoot it out, finger jab to the eyes, or tap to intercept somebody's arm, or reach the grab or the punch, whatever the case may be. Just start getting used to the idea of shooting that left hand out as you deliver your thrust. Now again, the nice thing about our abecedario, since it's only a 3-count thrust, right? There's not a lot of things to memorize, right? And it might seem like it's a very limited, number of strikes, but really it's, you can adjust where it goes. Okay, it's just in the beginning, we insist that you do the very deliberate, somewhat telegraphic thrust or weapon movement, so that you can understand the full range of motion of that specific movement, right? Right. You can always make it smaller and tighter and faster, right? You can do all these things, but if we were to do that in the beginning and you have no understanding of just how far, right? How far and how much you can do with your knife, at the maximum range of motion, then you'll never know because you're only used to doing it here. Okay, so we tend to kind of make things a little bigger than necessary, right? So okay, let's say with my right hand, I'm pretty good with the abecedario. Okay, now obviously I got to do it to the left hand, right? So if you like, you can switch leads and repeat the same exercise with your left hand. Okay, but typically we don't switch leads. We stay on the same right side lead. Okay, because you have to learn how to be ambidextrous with your hands while being in the same posture, be it the typical right forward lead or left lead, or if you're squared, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so once again, if you are just learning how to develop ambidextrous skill, then you'll start with your strong hand. In this case, most people it's right-handed. I myself, I'm left-handed, but most people are right-handed. So start with the right hand, tap, 1, 2, 3, and then back. And then once you've done enough reps on that side, on the right side, put it on your left hand, repeat the same exact thing. Tap, 1, 2, 3, slash. See? Tap, 1, 2, 3, and then slash. Again, when you are delivering these thrusting lines, okay, you have to be very specific, especially in the beginning. Later on, when you know what you're doing, do what you want, right? It's like firearms training, okay? You have to learn how to first handle your firearm safely, have the proper grip before you start playing with unholstering and presenting your weapon and doing those kinds of drills, right? So it's we treat knife work in a very similar manner. So okay, so I'm pretty good now with my abecedario, right? Thrusting lines, slash, switch, 1, 2, 3, slash, 1, 2, 3, slash, 1, 2, 3, slash. Okay. Obviously, there's no footwork right now. We're just focusing on, hand mechanics. You also notice when I switch hands, right, the knife, and basically I clap my hands together, and that's how I transfer to the other hand, right? I don't do this. I don't do any funky twirling. That's a really good way of losing your knife. Okay, it's very simple. Okay, put the empty hand towards your knife hand, and then just put the knife in that other hand. Okay, there's no need to do all the crazy stuff. So even here, when I'm switching from right to left, see, I complete the entire thing, and then I'm focusing on being clean. Okay. Slow and deliberate. Okay. So, okay, now that I have familiarity with being able to do the abecedario with either right hand or left hand, now it's a good time to put a second knife on my empty hand now. So again, the thrusting lines for double knife, they're pretty much the same, right? This is number 1 on the right. This is number 1 on the left. This is number 2 on the right, number 2 on the left, number 3 on the right, 3 on the left. So when I now do the 1, 2, 3 thrusts with the double knife, and I'm leading with the right hand, right? Just like before, when you saw me jabbing with my previously empty left hand, I'm going to now knife jab with that left hand, right? So jab, 1, 2 is 2 thrusts. So you got this 1 thrust, another thrust, okay? And then that vertical slash, again, you're kind of opening up. So you're going to fill this space previously with your tapping hand, but now you're going to fill it with a knife jab, right? So you transfer over, knife jab, and then thrust. And now you are, right? Now you're going to be on this side. So you jab right, thrust with the left, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and then thrust. Again, I'm using real knives. Please use trainers, okay? Unless you're already kind of at the same level where you can, you can safely use a real knife. But yeah, please use a trainer. So back and forth, okay? If I'm thrusting with the right hand, my left hand will be posted on my solar plexus, or my left knife will be posted on my solar plexus, okay? And then vice versa if I'm thrusting with the left knife. So again, it might be worth kind of practicing this indexing. It's funny, again, this movement here, it's, you'll see the same thing in firearms training, but because you have your empty hand going to your, midsection or your belly or here somewhere, right? For lifting the shirt, and, you're concealed and everything. And then the other hand draws, and then you punch out. So this motion right here, it's very, very similar. And I found it interesting that, I learned when I started learning firearms later on that this is a very similar movement. So, right, just learning to index, right, replace there. Same thing for trying to, understand what hand is on top when you're doing the number 2 line. You just kind of do this, see? So back to the exercise, okay? Thrusting with the right hand. Jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash again, jab, thrust across the neck or the eyes. Now you are posted here. Jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and then thrust. Back to here. Right. So again, in the beginning, if you need to be kind of more robotic about it or mechanical, if it helps you coordinate everything properly, then I say go for it. Because once you, once you've, your body is, used to it, and you understand how to move and coordinate your weapons, right? Then you can start assuming all these cool postures, But in the beginning, it might be necessary to kind of start like this, right? Right? Because one of the worst things that you can do is, you're so, in a rush to get to the tactical execution of whatever knife, and you're letting your mechanics kind of fall apart in favor of just being fast, and it just develops a lot of bad habits. So start developing good habits early on. Okay. So like I said, once you kind of you've understood the basic mechanics, right, from a more squared up posture, now assume a bladed posture. Your left leg to the back, or step forward with your right leg, and then turn your body 45 degrees. And now you assume what we call the bladed posture. Okay, so you see how my lead hand is directly in front. If I simply raise it, see it covers the center, right? But because I'm bladed, it's kind of makes the target on me a little smaller, right? A little narrower. And now you simply repeat the same exercise. Again, you might want to start with the offhand on your chest first, and then your primary attacking hand already posted on your starting position, in this case on the hip, right? So I'm bladed, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and thrust. Okay. If I'm now in this position and I'm doing the left side, I will now jab with my lead hand or my right hand, right? Jab, and then thrust with the left. Slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and thrust. And look, I'm right back to the beginning again. Okay? So, again, at the start of this, you want to kind of, have all these index or reference points or chamber points, whatever you want to call it, just so that you know where your weapons are at all times. It's no different than, when you're training like a traditional system like karate, kung fu, or taekwondo, right? You're learning how to punch, and you have all these chambers, right? You chamber your hand, and then you punch, and then you learn to, withdraw the other hand as you punch with the other one, right? Same thing with kicks. When I trained in Goju Karate, it's back in the day, we chambered our kicks so that we know exactly what what it feels like to shift that balance from one support leg to another, right? Or going from, having both legs on the ground to supporting only with one leg. That's a whole different art. So back to our double knife, right? Perform your abecedario exercise. Again, as clean as you can get it, right? Jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, thrust, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and then thrust. Okay, again, from this side, okay, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, thrust, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash jab and thrust. Okay? Jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, thrust, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and thrust. Okay? The next thing to do is, to do it kind of more in a fighting posture. Instead of indexing and chambering, you're going to have your knives in front of you here, right? But same thing, when you fire the offhand jab, the thrusting hand kind of withdraws a little bit. But then you just go right into the flow of those 3 count, right? Fighting positions here, jab, thrust, slash, thrust, and then there, thrust. Okay. Same thing if you were doing the opposite, you're thrusting with the left hand. Okay. Obviously, my right hand is in the same position as before. Okay. Right here, I will jab with the right hand, and then I will thrust, slash, thrust, thrust, slash, jab, and thrust. And then back to fighting posture. Okay. That's it for now for this part. I'll do a second part where we're going to cover more of the kind of the dynamic energy. See you in the next one.